order to grow as a person, I had to do what was uncomfortable because your voice matters, because your voice is important. And so show up, stand up, and speak up because you matter.
Hey everyone, I'm Angeline Constantinou, and this is Her Unapologetic Voice. This podcast was created for women who lead but are done leading from apology. Here we have real, unfiltered conversations about boundaries, truth, and confidence. The kind of talks that remind you your voice is not something you find once, it's something you build. Every episode will give you something real to take with you, whether it's a boundary script, a reflection tool, or simply the courage to say what you really mean. So if you're ready to lead from your truth, not from approval, this is your space. Your unapologetic voice starts here. Welcome back to Her Unapologetic Voice podcast, the podcast where we stop shrinking, stop settling, and start speaking the truth about what it really takes to heal, rise, and reclaim your power. This is the space for women who are done apologizing for their standards, done minimizing their needs, done abandoning themselves in the name of love. Because here's what I know, you can survive and thrive after divorce, and you can thrive after heartbreak. You can survive betrayal and thrive. But the real transformation begins when you stop asking. Dating and love at last. Sandy Weiner will be coming to the stage in 1 minute. Let me just introduce her. Sandy's work empowers women, especially those dating later in life, to make healthier decisions in love, communicate with clarity, and build relationships rooted in self-worth, not scarcity. Today, we're diving into the defining moments that shaped her leadership and purpose, the boundaries that changed everything, and the challenges women must overcome to stop repeating old patterns. So if you are ready to date without losing yourself, if you are ready to set standards without guilt, if you are ready to step into love from wholeness instead of wounds, this conversation is for you. Without further ado, Sandy, welcome to the stage.
Thank you so much, Angeline.
Great to have you here with us today on our podcast on Her Unapologetic Voice. So tell me, what is the time where you are?
It is 1:22 in the East Coast.
Yeah, same here. And we had the pleasure of connecting on LinkedIn. Today, we're going to be talking about becoming a woman of value. I know that you are a TEDx speaker, dating relationship coach, and author of Becoming a Woman of Value. Tell us about your story. What inspired you to start this movement for women, especially, like for myself, I'm 62, but young at heart, but like women later in life, what inspired you to start this movement?
Probably I would say my divorce, but it happened. There's a lot that happened before the divorce that also inspired me. I grew up in a home with parents who were fairly dysfunctional, as many of us have. I did not know how to start a relationship in a healthy way. I chose a partner who I thought would be safe for me. I had gotten my heart broken right before I said yes to him. That's what I talk about in my TEDx. I talk about how I used to be a Tootsie Pop, and that metaphor came to me because there was a man who I had gone on a date with after my divorce, and he said, I'm like a Tootsie Pop. I'm tough on the outside and I'm soft on the inside. And I said to myself, no, I'm a Tootsie Pop too. That's actually not a good thing. That's kind of thing like you like those teddy bear men who are like really tough on the exterior. And a lot of women are also tough on the exterior, and they are mushy on the inside, meaning they don't have their values clear. They don't have their boundaries clear. And those were the kinds of things that I started to realize after my divorce, after 23 years and several children, that I needed to learn how to be better with myself, a better relationship with myself and then better with dating. The foundation begins with valuing yourself. I wrote Woman of Value, Becoming a Woman of Value, for that reason, because I started to come up with how to show up, stand up, and speak up. Those were the three tenets and the pillars. I actually have another podcast called the Woman of Value podcast that I stopped recording because I've been recording the last First Date Radio podcast for 13 years. Women of Value podcast went on for 4 years, I think. And then I was like, I can't do 2 podcasts and run a business and have a family and do everything. I wrote 2 more books. I have Choice Points in Dating, which is a book that is really a guidebook to how to date with dignity. And then Love at Last, which is sort of the story that happens after you follow these steps, then you can have a relationship that lasts later in life. And these are true stories of 18 couples. Some I've worked with, some were podcast guests, some were people who were in my Facebook group, Your Last First Dates. That experience of being in the wrong relationship, trying to heal a person who was not willing to heal, trying to make a relationship work where it couldn't work, having my needs not met, having my voice silenced, like you spoke about at the beginning. I was shut down every time I would speak up to other people. He'd be embarrassed. And I knew I was doing the right thing, and I couldn't fully be myself in that relationship. I finally decided that I had to save myself, and I got out of that marriage, and then the work begins. So it's like, it's not just his fault. I chose him. I chose to stay for a long time. I take full responsibility for that. I grew, I became a coach, and I love what I do. I help other women and men to get stronger within, to be really clear. Who am I? What do I want in life? Absolutely will not work for me. How do I end things quickly, kindly? I could go on and on, but that was a pivotal moment for me.
Wow, amazing. What made you decide I'm done settling? What was that moment?
I had wanted to get divorced pretty early on, and I have this fighter in me that says, oh, you can make it work. I think like so many
We all do.
people,
Same
it's like,
here.
yeah. So like, how can I work harder to make it work? And so we went to therapy and we tried all the things, but it was really just me doing the work, because he would say, well, you come from a dysfunctional family. I don't, which is not true. You're the crazy one. You have to do the work. You're the one. I knew that wasn't true, but I had gone to a friend of mine who was a lawyer, a divorce lawyer. And she said to me, if you can stick it out until your youngest is out of high school, try to do that, because I have seen the worst things happen to children. She had seen court cases where kids were, in custody trials and terrible things. I got scared. This was many years before I actually got divorced. I was just kind of living my life almost separate from him. I forged a life with good friends, with interests that I loved. And I just kind of had my head down, just trying to make the relationship work. Then I started going away to summer camps in the summer to give my kids a summer camp sleepaway experience that I never had. And in those camps, the first year I went away, actually, it was the first time I had been away from him for a period of time. I had perspective of distance. I can actually think straight. And he would come up on the weekends and be miserable and didn't want to eat in the cafeteria and didn't want to hang out with people. And it made me see how different we were. Camp was my happy place. I had friends.
Wow.
I loved singing. I loved the activities. I was an art director at the time. That was kind of the beginning of, this is really not working. Then finally, it was a summer that I was in a different camp that I started to have feelings for another man because he paid attention to me. It's just like
there you go.
Right. I mean, he was interested in who I was as a person, and
Wow.
he, is telling me he's not happy with his wife. All of a sudden it's waking up passion and emotion. And I'm like, oh my God, I've given all this up. I've been dead inside. And I realized that I did not want to sleep with this man because I was married, but I realized that if I had those feelings, I needed to get out, because I couldn't live the rest of my life without those experiences of like living full out. It sort of woke me up to what was possible. even though he was not possible, the feeling was possible of
Mm,
connecting with somebody deeply who could see me.
that's great. That's amazing. How did your own love story shape your coaching philosophy?
Well, I got into a few relationships after my divorce,
Okay.
some amazing people. I saw that there are some really kind, loving people who are, just much more open, much more willing to try things that I had never been able to get my husband to try. I mean, just he was a creature of habit. And at the time when I met him, he was also a really interesting person. I have to say, I'm not throwing him under the bus. He's a comedian and a puppeteer. And I was an artist. We were working together creatively. That was the best part of our relationship. We complemented each other in that way.
That's
And
good.
he was on national television. I got to be a comedy writer. I got to be a director. I got to do a lot of things that I actually use today in my coaching practice. He was a creature of habit. He would want to go visit his parents every Sunday, and he would not want to really go and do interesting things that I wanted to do. Meeting people who wanted to travel and who wanted to do fun things and wanted to explore sexually in ways that I had never even thought of, because you're in one relationship your whole life. You do things and they become habitual.
That's true.
So that really influenced me. But I think just knowing that I had already kind of lived this life where I had been in a hurry to get married, have children, time was running out. Now time is, even though it is running out, but I already had that experience. I don't need to settle for somebody just because I need to have somebody in my life. I
Right.
built this beautiful life that I absolutely adore. I have fabulous friends, but I'm very discerning about everything in my life. The time I spent with people, the friendships that I have changed drastically. The things that I say yes to, the things I say no to. And I think that I really advocate for women and men to take their time. Don't just jump into something because you're
Right.
lonely.
That's a good point, and I want to touch on that because there are many divorced women and men too. They feel lonely, yet for me, I know for me, I'm still single after all these years, 17 and a half years, but pouring into yourself, pouring self-love, it's not selfish. So when you work with your clients, if a divorced woman was talking to you right now and she feels, oh, I feel lonely and I don't feel complete, what would you say to her?
I would say to her, what else are you doing to fulfill your life? I believe that dating should be a part of your life, but it should not be your whole life, especially at this stage in life where we're coming together as whole people. We're not looking to be completed. We're looking to be enhanced. And so, do you have hobbies? Do you have interests? Do you travel? Do you have a whole list of things you would not do except with a partner? Well, do those too by yourself. Take yourself on dates. Try new things, get out of your comfort zone on a regular basis. And by the way, I have a lot of clients who are single, never married, and have gotten into great relationships because of the work. It all starts with you and you fulfilling yourself, but also breaking patterns. I mean, if you have terrible boundaries, then you need to get better at boundaries. I remember I teach courses on boundaries now, but I remember learning how to set better boundaries with my parents. They were my father back in the day when they got divorced. My father was calling me every day and telling me how horrible my mother was. I said to him, this is not an appropriate conversation to have with me. I'm going to hang up if you continue to speak this way. And he would continue because he did not respect my boundaries, and I would hang up and then he would call back. But he started to learn that I mean what I say. And it took me a long time to mean what I say. This was at the beginning of my marriage. They got divorced right when I was getting married. So they were completely not present for me, but it was like, okay, to dump all the garbage out on me. I'm not a garbage dump. And then with my mom, she would put me on hold every time I called. She would take every call because she didn't know how to say no to anybody. And I said,
Right?
if you put me on hold, I will hang up. And then I would hang up. They both learned to respect me more. It was hard for them to do that. I'm changing the script on them. I teach my clients boundaries. I teach them communication skills. If something isn't working for you, you've got to look within first.
I
What am
agree
I
with you.
doing to create this pattern?
Absolutely. And I'm glad you touched on that, especially with your father. Wow. Say bad things about your mom. That's like,
not
God
okay.
rest my parents' soul. My parents never did that. I mean, my mom would say something like, your dad snores, but whatever. Now, with your mom, did she learn later on how to say no in life? Like when you would call her?
She's not very good at self-regulating. She's still alive. She's 94 and she still gets upset with people for not reading her mind. I learned a lot of really bad ways of communicating from my family and that everyone else was to blame. That was the message. Everyone's out to get you. Men are lazy, men
See?
suck.
Yeah.
You have to look at those beliefs, those
Mm.
limiting beliefs that have the way we see people, the way we do things. And she actually said to me one day, I wish I knew how to communicate like you. She said, I never had the courage to say the things that you say. Never thought I'd hear that from her, but it was a
Wow.
really nice thing that she recognized that it's important to empower yourself and not to feel
That's
like a
true.
victim.
Exactly. And God bless your mom. She's 94. That's amazing. That's great. She learned a lot from you then, correct? But
So,
still, it's a shame though. It's like everyone, yourself, that's to blame.
mhm.
Everyone else.
Well, I mean, look, recognize if somebody's not a good person in your life and walk away.
Mm.
But if you want something from someone, you have to ask for it. You can't expect things without speaking up and asking for what you want. And then if somebody doesn't listen, doesn't respect, then you have data, which is important. You want to be collecting data on people as you get to know them, whether you're dating or in a friendship, people are inconsistent, that's data. And then you just, like, I have a child who constantly says, can you believe that person did that? And I'm like, yeah, because that's all they've ever done.
How do we shift from blaming others into taking ownership?
Well, I think pause, first of all.
Okay, I agree.
Pause and ask yourself, what is my share and what is their share? If you're going to be honest with yourself, you're going to see, let's see, was I clear? Did I say what I had to say? Did I not follow through with what I said? Sometimes we say, if you do that again, I'm going to hang up, and then you don't hang up. You're already showing that your boundaries are fuzzy. They're porous. It's okay to push them again and again and again, because you're going to weaken. I just had this conversation with my mother's aide who lives with her. She is planning a trip and she's going to leave her with a friend of hers who my mother never met. My mother has this idea that she doesn't need anybody, which isn't true. She's not being honest with herself. She says to this woman, you go, it's okay. You can go away for a week. I'll be fine. And the aide feels guilty for going away. And how am I going to insist that she have this person? And I said, you have to get stronger with your convictions. I said, my mother's like a toddler. If you had a 3-year-old and the 3-year-old said, I'm not eating or I'm not going to preschool, would you just say, fine, okay? Because she was ready to cancel her trip because my mother didn't want to have this person. I said, you need to take care of yourself and you need to do what you need to do. And so my mother is going to have to get used to it, because you're going to stick to your guns with kindness, just like you would with a 3-year-old. You're not going to force anything, but you're going to be firm. That combination of firm and loving is what makes boundaries stick.
There you go. I'm glad you touched on that. What is the challenge that you overcame and the lessons others could use?
One of my biggest challenges in life was my first child was born with a genetic disease. I had no idea until he was born, and they still didn't know it was genetic. They actually thought it was a congenital disease because he was born with a lot of birth defects. My husband fell apart, completely shut down, deferred to me on everything. He said, you're better at medical stuff, so you take care of everything. And I became better at medical stuff because he was not stepping up and I was going to advocate for this child no matter what.
Right.
And what I learned was, first of all, without any medical background and without the internet, because this is the 1980s, he was born in 86. I had to go to libraries to look up stuff. His disease was extremely rare. I was the one who advocated for more testing because I didn't believe that it was congenital. I was the one who told doctors when to operate. I was the one who found the right doctors. I trusted my intuition on every single thing. And knowing that you're smarter than you think, you can trust yourself if you do the work. I mean, I happen to have good medical intuition. I learned that from this experience and I applied it to many different experiences in my life. And my second son was born and he had ear infections and the doctors were ready to put tubes in his ears. My gut said to myself, do not put tubes in his ears because we don't know why he's getting ear infections. I want to explore the root cause before you start doing surgery on my kid, because my other son had 17 surgeries. I advocated for him. I found natural medicine to cure him. I did so many different things and he never needed tubes. I switched doctors and I hear stories today. My son's a musician. He has perfect pitch.
Oh,
And I truly believe that he would have lost some hearing and not have had the life that he has. I don't think it's extraordinary to trust your intuition. I think it's something we all should be doing, no matter the circumstance, no matter how challenging the circumstances. Know that you're stronger than you think you are, that you're smarter than you think you are. And don't let doctors talk down to you. Don't let people in power talk down to you and say, well, who are you? You don't have a medical degree. I knew more than the doctors.
You don't need a PhD. This is all life experience.
I mean, there's stuff I certainly didn't know. I couldn't do surgery, but I did understand. I understood how his body worked. I understood that if you don't understand a root cause of something, then you're going to just be putting Band-Aids on it. And I feel like that's true for all parts of our lives. You know, when we're trying to date again, if we just put a Band-Aid on it by getting a new haircut and getting some nice clothes, you're going to date the same person with a different face over and over again.
There you go. Absolutely. And speaking of the subject of dating, how can divorced women re-enter dating without carrying that shame and guilt?
Well, I'm teaching a storytelling workshop right now. We're talking about our stories and how to reframe what happened to us because we are the PR representatives of our lives in every aspect of our lives. If you think of yourself as the PR representative, how would you represent yourself to others? I say, own your story. Your story is special to you. You do not have to carry shame if you can reframe how you see it. Just like in my case, I married a man who was not right for me. I didn't do it on purpose. Nobody enters a marriage thinking, I hope I get divorced. I hope it doesn't work out.
No, that's not the whole purpose of getting married.
No, you enter with good intention. You hope that things will work. You didn't have the skills, the tools. Maybe you didn't heal enough from your childhood experiences. We make these choices because we do the best we can with the tools we have. And if you are listening to this podcast, if you are working with a coach like me, that means that you want to do better. And that's 1,000 times better than most people out there. If you can own that and be proud of yourself for wanting to do better, then you bring that out into the world. And I think so many people just carry so much shame and self beat up for things that they didn't know any better. Don't beat yourself up for what you did.
Right.
Learn how to do better and learn how to represent yourself in a way. Don't overshare. Don't talk about your ex on a date. You know, it's just talk about who you've become. And if they start talking about their ex, well, first of all, it's good information, but redirect that conversation. Tell them, interrupt them, tell them I'm not comfortable hearing that right now. Just talk about, what are your hobbies? What are you excited about this year? What are some of your passions? Like, find out who they are today, because I don't care who you used to be. That does not interest me.
Right. I'm glad that you touched on that, because talking about your ex is a huge mistake. It's a huge mistake because you're basically going back to the past.
And you're a victim, just like
you're a victim. There you go. That you're a victim.
Talking about my mother like that did not paint him in a good light. It painted him in a bad light. Even if what he said might have been true, I don't want to hear it.
Right. There you go. I like that. What would change in your life if you truly believed you were a woman of value, not because a man chose you, but because you chose yourself?
Everything.
Right?
I mean, when you choose yourself, you make better choices in everything else. Everything good comes from that. You learn that you stop wasting time with tire kickers when it comes to, I mean, take my business, for example. When I started this business about 17 years ago, I used to have people who wouldn't pay me on time, who
Right.
would miss appointments, and I would get mad at them, or I wouldn't know how to end an appointment because I thought it was rude to say time is up. Those were all my lack of boundaries. I didn't know how to have a contract. I didn't know how to take payment before a session.
I've learned that the hard way. In fact, I fired a former client. I had to, because I realized, I mean, my program was working, except she was getting triggered and triggered to the point where I respectfully told her that I feel that you need to go back to your therapist. Because she wasn't, because a coach and a mentor like you and I, we empower women to move forward. We empower, whereas the therapist focuses on the past. Well, they're digging. I mean, they're digging, except they keep focusing on the past and not helping them move forward, if that makes sense.
It depends on the therapist. A lot of therapists today act as coaches as well. I start with the past. I want to know how you got to where you are today, because there were a set of circumstances that got you here. I want to know about your childhood. I want to know about your attachment style, how you attach to your caregivers, because that determines how you date and who you're going to date. We do some assessments to find out who you were in order to figure out how to get you to where you want to be, but you can't skip that part. But I don't dwell there. I don't dwell in the past.
We stay there. We don't stay there. You're right. We're peeling back the layers, but we're not staying there. How do you help your clients move forward then and get back into the dating world again?
After we do some of the pattern recognition and all that stuff and do the assessments and who have you dated in the past, then we start to design who would be an ideal partner. We go through, how do you create the must-have and deal breaker list? Most people get that wrong. They have things on that list that absolutely don't matter, and things that are missing from the list that should matter. My whole theory is get really clear. Get clear about what you can't live with and what you can't live without. When you know those things, it makes dating so much easier. You just go, oh, that person was good looking, they had a good job, all the things that we used to think were important, but they actually weren't very kind to the wait staff. And they never asked me a single question. Well, I'm looking for somebody who's really curious and has a growth mindset. This person seems to be pretty fixed and not very open-minded. So it's not going to work. I don't care how good looking. I don't care how much. And then there are people who, I had a client who she had broken up with somebody because she felt that he didn't do enough in the relationship, but she never asked him to do anything. She assumed a lot of things. She assumed because she made more money, she had more money. Well, it wasn't true. But because he saved more money, she gave away all her money.
Oh boy.
She assumed because he had children, he had less time. She would always travel to him and never ask him to come to her. He would have come to her, but she never asked. She assumed that she should pay for gifts and never ask him to pay back if they were going somewhere. A lot of assumptions. She built resentment. She broke up with him. We worked together for 5-6 months.
Oh, that's good.
I said, well, that guy, do you think that there's a chance that actually could work if you use your new skills? She was like, well, he was a good guy. She goes back to him and she said, listen, I'd like to try again with new agreements. That's an important thing. If you ever get back with an ex, make sure that there are new agreements, that you don't get back exactly the way you were. She asked him if he was interested. He broke up with the person he was seeing because he's loved her. And they had a conversation about the money, about all those things. He was like, I make more money. I have like $1 million saved up. I'm doing better than you. Anyway, they got married. They ended up in her first marriage in her 50s. She was stuck because she was a massive people pleaser and did not speak. Learning these skills, learning the skills that are missing, learning that you're making assumptions about people, you're not checking things out. It's build the foundation, learn the missing skills, and then get out and practice. Practice with people who are not like your type, because that's often the worst person for you. But just get out there and do it. And you usually will be surprised by the person who comes into your life, because love comes in surprise packages.
That's true. Absolutely. Wow, what a story. I love that. I absolutely love that. What is the special message that you would love to share with our listeners today who will be tuning into the podcast, which is, by the way, on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube at Her Unapologetic Voice podcast?
I would say find your voice, first of all.
Okay.
Find your voice. Don't apologize for it. One of my biggest areas of growth was speaking in public. I was never a public speaker. I was the person in the school play who had like the smallest role possible, 3 words to say. And I realized that in order to grow as a person, I had to do what was uncomfortable. And that included saying yes to a TED Talk, saying yes to getting up on stages, saying yes to having a podcast, 2 podcasts for the past 13 years, a YouTube channel. I mean, just getting out there and putting yourself out there because your voice matters. It's not because you want to tell everybody how fabulous you are. It's because you have a message. It's because your voice is important. And so show up, stand up, and speak up because you matter.
There you go. There you go. Show up, unapologetic, stand up. I love that. Now, where can people reach you?
You can go to my website to lastfirstdate.com, and I have a Facebook group for any women over 40 who would like to join us. It's a fabulous place for positive support. And that's at Your Last First Date on Facebook. You can listen to my podcast, Last First Date Radio, on all the platforms. I'm also on YouTube, Instagram, everywhere. Come and find me, connect. I would love to talk to you.
All the links will be in the show notes. We'll make sure that we have everything correct. I love the name, lastfirstdate.com. I really, really enjoyed this conversation, and this is going to empower many women. We have to replace those lies with the truth. And what a powerful reminder that love isn't about proving your worth. It's about protecting it. So if today's episode stirred something in you, pause and ask yourself, where am I still negotiating my standards? Where am I tolerating what I've already outgrown? Where am I abandoning myself to avoid being alone? Because here's the truth, your voice matters, your boundaries matter, your standards matter. And becoming a woman of value isn't about being perfect. It's about being aligned and being aligned with your truth and being aligned with your healing, aligned with the future you're creating. So if this episode spoke to you, please share this episode with another woman who's ready to stop shrinking in love and stepping up. And if you're ready to go deeper to fully unlock your identity, strengthen your confidence, and build relationships from a place of power, I invite you to connect with me. So on that note, and you can connect with me at letsbreakthesilence.com. I have recently launched a brand new VIP mastermind for women to unlock their identity and confidence and to be liberated so you can feel liberated. Please comment below awaken and I will send you the details. So on that note, please connect with Sandy again. And I want to wish you all an amazing day. Thank you so much for tuning in. This broadcast is coming to a close, and we all wish you an amazing day. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Her Unapologetic Voice. Every conversation here is meant to help you build confidence from the inside out and find strength in your own words. If today's message resonated, follow the show and share it with a friend who's ready to lead from who she truly is. You can also connect with me on social media at Her Unapologetic Voice podcast for updates and behind the scenes insights. Remember, confidence begins when you stop apologizing for your truth and start speaking from it. I'm Angeline Constantinou, and I will see you in the next episode.